Good day everyone, I am Crazy Mabel Mess from BSED English 3A. Today I, together with my partner Miss Christine Miberlizo, will discuss to you the essential elements and types of portfolio. Let us first read the objectives of this lesson. First is to identify and provide examples of the essential elements and types of portfolio, and to improve communication skills through a written discourse. Before we start with our topic, let us perform this motivation or preliminary activity entitled Bring Me Back to 2019. For this activity, try to flash back from your first day in college. What are the most important things that you prepared? Fill in the bubbles with the things you prepared for school. Number the bubbles 1 representing as essential 1 and 2 as lesser of importance. You may add as many bubbles as you can. Are you done? After accomplishing the preliminary activity, here are some questions that you need to answer. First, why do you come up with those things as your number 1 priority? Second, how about those that you numbered 2? Why are they just your second priority? Third, when are you going to decide that such things are your first or second priority? And lastly, how does it help you when you assess something? You might wonder, what is the connection of this activity to our topic? Well, just like preparing for school, before you shall present the contents of your portfolio, you need to provide preliminaries which give a package of what your portfolio is all about. Before we discuss the 6 essential elements of portfolio, let us first have a short recap on what this portfolio means. Portfolio refers to the systematic, purposeful, and meaningful collection of learners' work. It may be written assignments, drafts, artworks, or any presentations that represents competencies, exemplary work, or the learner's developmental progress. Or in simplest term, portfolio is a collection of students' work that exhibits the students' efforts, progress, and achievement in one or more areas. Creating a portfolio can be as simple as a folder or can be fancy as a scrapbook. It is a way for learners and teachers to critique and evaluate their works and academic papers. Now, let me introduce to you the 6 essential elements of portfolio. We have the cover letter, table of contents, entries, dates, drafts, and reflection. Let us first discuss the cover letter. In this element, it tells about the author of the portfolio and what the portfolio shows about the author's progress as a learner. It summarizes the evidence of the student's learning and progress. Here is an example of a cover letter. Next is the table of content. I know that we are all familiar with this. Shown in this element is the detailed content of the portfolio along with its number pages, and here is an example of a table of content. Third, we have the entries, where it includes both core entries and the optional entries. Core entries refers to the items that students have to include. These items provide a common base from which to make decisions on assessment. On the other hand, optional entries are the items of student choices. These permit each student to represent his or her uniqueness. Students are allowed to include the best pieces of work, but also the piece of work that gave their trouble or one that was less successful, and they should give the reason why. Fourth is the dates. Of course, all entries must have a specific date in order to facilitate proof of evidences of the student's growth over time. Here we can identify when did the student perform the activity. Fifth element is the drafts. Drafts of oral, and written products and the revised version of the student's work. The teachers will check the output of the students, and he or she can tell the students if they need to revise or improve it. And last element is the reflection. Portfolio requires self-evaluation component like reflective essay. In this element, it can appear at different stages in the learning process. It may be for formative and or summative purposes. In this element, students can express their thoughts and feelings on a specific topic or activity that they performed or accomplished. These are some of the questions that students have to consider in making a reflection. What did I learn from it? Did I do well? Why did I choose this item? What do I want to improve in the item? How do I feel about my performance? And what were the problem areas or difficulties I encountered? That's all for the 6 essential elements of portfolio. I hope you learned something from me. Let us now proceed to the different types of portfolio, which will be discussed by Miss Christine May Barlizo.
So, after understanding the essential types of portfolio, we are now ready to unravel its different types. In general, there are three common types of writing portfolio assessment, and this includes first, the working portfolio, second, the showcase portfolio, and third, the progress portfolio. In this session, we are going to differentiate these types, discuss its purposes, and provide sample student accomplishment tasks that teachers can consider for classroom use. Now let us begin with working portfolio. So working portfolio is also known as the teacher-student portfolio, and as the name suggests, it is considered as a project at work. It contains the work in progress as well as the finished samples of student work. Hence, a working portfolio is an interactive teacher-student portfolio that aids in communication between the teacher and then the students. Here, we can diagnose the students' needs because this contains all the activities that the learners are doing inside the classroom. It could be graded, it could be draft, or it could be anything that the students accomplish in the classroom. Using this kind of portfolio, the student and the teacher are aware of the student's strengths and weaknesses in achieving the learning objective. So the bottom line is that whatever papers at hand that the teachers have accomplished during the entire academic year will be placed inside the working portfolio. So this means that the learners will be building or adding to the portfolio every day during their placement to display the tasks and activities that they have completed. From such explanation, we can infer that working portfolio can include the following purposes. First is that it could identify the strengths and weaknesses of the learners. Second is that it could track the development of one or more products or performances. Third, it could also show their growth or change in performance over time. And lastly, it could also help develop process skills. Now you may ask, what are the samples of student work that can be included in a working portfolio? Well, to answer that question, let us emphasize that there is no limit as to what can be included in any types of portfolio. Paper products such as essays, homeworks, letters, projects, and etc. are the most common ones, right? But nowadays, more and more other types of media are being included in portfolios as well. Hence, the other format of portfolio, which is called as the e-portfolio. Audio and videotapes, CD-ROMs, 2 and 3-dimensional pieces of arts, posters, and anything else that can reflect the purpose identified can be included. But realistically, as a teacher, it is also significant to note that we decide still what is the most manageable. But if the most meaningful evidence of the portfolio's goals cannot be emphasized or captured on paper, then you may consider including other types of media. Back to the matter at hand, what are now the samples of students' accomplishment or tasks that can be included in a working portfolio? So the first one will be their previous and recent pieces of work. So this can be applied in any subject area, but in English subjects, the most typical ones are narrative reports, essays, may it be expository, argumentative, and persuasive, and any other things such as posters or writing a letter. Next would be previews and recent task scores, their rough drafts and final drafts of any topic, their goal setting sheets, and also their reflection papers or action papers on a certain topic. For the second type of portfolio, we have the showcase portfolio. Showcase portfolio is also known as the best work or display portfolio. This kind of portfolio focuses on the student's best work and most representative work. It exhibits the best performance of the students. The best work portfolio documents the student's effort with respect to the curriculum objective. It may also include the evidence of students' activities done outside the school, or it could be an assignment written at home. The most rewarding use of Showcase Portfolio in the classroom is that it displays the best work of the students, the work that makes them feel proud. Thus, utilizing this portfolio in this case is a way to encourage the students' self-assessment. It helps to boost the self-esteem and sense of accomplishment of the learners. This type of portfolio is often seen, for example, as exhibit during school visit or during parents' visitation. Now, what are the purposes of Showcase Portfolio? So from the definition, we can deduce that Showcase Portfolio helps determine the student's perception of their favorite, best, or most important work. It can also showcase the end of year or the semestral accomplishment of each learners. And lastly, it can also help prepare a sample of best work for employment or college admission. Here are the examples of students' accomplishment or work under the Showcase portfolio. Of course, the first one are the samples of their best or most representative work. So in English subject, this could include the essays or other written texts or outputs that students deemed as the most distinguished or the best outputs they have written during the entire academic year or grading period. This could be their best final test scores or ratings on a certain activity or task. This could be their other awards or recognition, and it can also include the reflection on what they have learned from their works on this subject. Finally, the third type of portfolio that we have is the progress portfolio. Progress portfolio is also known as the teacher alternative assessment portfolio, wherein it contains multiple examples of students' work with the same type done over a period of time, which is then utilized to assess the student's progress. All the works of students in this type of portfolio are scored, rated, ranked, or evaluated. This can be exemplified in kindergarten or primary levels, for example, when a teacher is teaching the child or the pupil the ABC. So the scenario is what they are trying to do is on the first try, they have to document how the pupil writes the letters in the alphabet and they have to grade it. It still happens on the second try, then the third try, until the students can perfect the writing of the alphabet. So we can see that in the progress portfolio, the same work is being done and being documented according to stages and according to progress. This is a focus type of portfolio, and it is a model of the holistic approach to assessment because here we can see that the learners are really progressing or having an improvement in a particular knowledge or skill. So what are then the purposes of progress portfolio? So first is that it can document the student's achievement, which it can be used for grading. And second, it could also document the student's progress towards standards. So what are the samples of students' accomplishment under this type of portfolio? So first are the representative sample work aligned with respective goals or standard. The self-reflection on how well samples indicate attainment of course, grade level goals, standards of objective, and it could also include the analysis or evidence of progress made towards standard over the course of the semester of the year. Alright, that's all for our different types of portfolio assessment. As a key takeaway, it is indeed important that we educators understand the essential elements and the three major types of portfolio assessment, for these topics will be of great use as we create and as we also instruct our students to create their own portfolio in the future. Understanding its elements and types is an avenue for us to determine the clear and targeted purpose, content, and processes in developing a portfolio. So I hope that you learned something from our discussion. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As a final note, here are the references that we use in today's topic.